time, one dribble, pull up for the win. He's got it!
Hello, and welcome, guys, wherever you guys are at, whether it's nighttime, morning time. I'm your host. This is the Blunted One. We're actually here in the cafeteria room. I'm so sorry, guys, for not dropping anything any sooner, but we've been trying to structure this and make sure that it's actually, better content for you guys. If you guys do like what we're doing, please hit the subscribe button, like button, hit the notification bell. Again, this is the cafeteria room, the podcast where we actually take off our cowboy hat, Laker hat, whatever hat that you're wearing, your team lenses, and we want to actually get to know the person actually behind the fan. I'm always actually here accompanied by my co-host Tony. Tony, what's up, dude? How are you, man? Pleasure to always have you on, man.
Pleasure's mine, man. Pleasure's mine. Like I'm trying to survive. Like I'm trying to survive the NFL Sunday stuff. So I am not an NFL guy. So it's been rough. It's kind of like rough. I had my F1 in the morning, my church, and now I'm like, what do I do? But
well, we'll actually get it together, man. We're gonna have a good show, and actually today's actually gonna be actually super awesome. First time that we're actually doing this. We actually have some good friends of ours, a bunch of people that we've met through social media and stuff like that, and we've kind of gotten to know them. They've actually stood out to me personally, and I would actually like to get to know these people more on a personal level to see what kind of stories they got to tell the world pretty much. Let's go ahead and bring our first guest on here. That's Nick. What's up, man? How are you, man?
Great, man. It's an honor to be on. Thank you, guys.
Dude, it's actually an honor to have you on. We got another guest here. You probably have seen him before on ABS. He'll probably be a reoccurring guest, just like Nick. We'll bring up Dre. Hey, Dre, what's up, brother? How you doing?
How's it going, man? Thank you guys for having me.
No, man, dude, it's always a pleasure to have you on. And actually, shout out to Australia, man. We got our first Australian person here. We're trying to make the movement and make it everywhere. Global. That's what we're trying to do here.
We are officially global, people.
Yeah, we're officially global. Odd Sneaker. What's up, brother? How are you?
Hey, I'm good. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man, I know. I appreciate you guys for actually taking time out of your guys' busy schedule, regular life, to actually come on here and actually come speak with us. Actually, I just want to kind of tell you guys just a little bit about myself before we actually go on. I'm sure other people have heard it, but I want to give you guys a backstory of myself. My name is Alan. I'm 32. I'm originally from Los Angeles, California. I married, got a kid. Blessing, changed my outview on life completely. Like, my son is definitely a blessing in disguise. I love sports, man. I'm a huge Laker fan. Love the Cowboys. Got a Cowboy hat on. That's just the backstory of just me. Tony, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself to Nick and just give Nick, everybody actually in the room, the panel, and just kind of give them a little brief about yourself.
Thanks. So actually, my name is Anthony. It's not Tony, but people call me Tony since I've been here in Virginia, so I just went with it. But actually, I do live in Virginia. I'm actually 36. I'm actually happily married with 2 kids, and it's interesting because I'm also a fan of the Lakers. I'm a fan of F1, and I never had I never really had a social presence in terms of this. I kind of just watch sports by myself or with family, some friends. But honestly, that's how we went. I met Alan. It's kind of like Laker stuff. So it's curious how we all kind of like with Lakers Nation and all that. We kind of found each other in a certain sense. But honestly, that's my point of view. And also, I have a West Highland Terrier, if you know what that means. So it's a dog. Anyway,
I have no idea what that means.
Yeah,
you'd have to explain to us what that means. What does that mean?
It's scratching me to death, but it's this little white. And she has a toy. You have a toy, okay?
Hell yeah, yeah. Well, we'll go ahead and go to Nick. Nick, what's up, man? Like, tell us a little bit about yourself, man.
Yeah. Similar to Tony, 36, 2 kids, married. Just
you look good. You look better than me.
I appreciate that. Also originally from Southern California, now living in the Austin area of Texas. And also diehard born and raised Lakers fan. Grew up in the Southern California area, so honestly, growing up, best memories were being at Dodger Stadium or at the Staples Center, even the Forum, my first game for the Lakers. And now, I'm here. I really enjoy it. I have a little bit of background in radio and media, so I really enjoy doing stuff like this. And really honored to be on.
Yeah, I would like to actually know more about that. We'll get to you here in a little bit. I'd like to actually hear more about that radio. My grandfather actually was in broadcasting, and nice. I think I've always had kind of a thing for it as well. And I just recently found that passion myself actually for it. That's so awesome. We'll get more into that here in a second. Odd Sneaker, man, tell us a little bit about yourself, brother.
I'm 32 from Queensland, Australia. I've got a daughter on the way. I've got a wife.
Congratulations.
That's yeah. I mean, I've been a Laker fan for as long as I can remember. I mean, we're a little bit different here in Australia where we don't get every single game. Growing up, it was a lot harder to watch games. League Pass has probably been one of the best things for anybody internationally to be able to follow along with their teams. One of those odd Australians that doesn't actually follow any Australian sport. I follow. I've always followed and played American sports. So, like, I played baseball and basketball growing up. Big baseball fan, big basketball fan, and a little bit of NFL. But again, that's one of the hardest sports to watch here unless you pay for a league pass, and we pay so much for our league passes and stuff over here. So, yeah,
that's awesome, man. Dre, you got the mic, brother. Tell us a little about yourself.
So my name is Andre. I live in New York. Everyone's so fascinated with New York. I just find it very regular. Nothing crazy happens here. I'm 28. Not married as of yet. Still looking for the one.
I hear that here, ladies. He's looking for one.
I watch basketball. Basketball is like my first love. My only love, because I don't really watch any other sports really. I do want to get into football. I'm a big LeBron fan, but also at the same time, I'm also a Laker fan. I met these guys through, social media. It's been a pleasure working with you guys and, conversing with you guys. So, I'm looking forward for this cafeteria room and, let's get it on.
Yeah. No, man, again, I appreciate you guys actually for coming on. It means a lot to me, and I'm sure it means a lot to Tony. I don't know if you guys had read our banner here. Like, this is kind of the idea of what I've had about the cafeteria room is if we're going to actually make a world a better place, well, the story is the right place to start. I mean, that really hits home to me. I feel like it's some master seafood shit. Like, honestly, when you really sit there and think about it, it really means a lot. I feel like everybody in this panel right here has a story to tell, has some type of inspiration to somebody else out there in the world that can actually relate to any of us in here. On one of the last podcasts that I have, we had a gentleman on here who was kind of going through a rough time, and me and him related in that way. Like, his mom had just kind of passed away, and I hope he's okay with me kind of telling the story just a little bit. And me and him actually connected that way. I played basketball with him at the rec, and his story at 21 years old was mind blowing. His knowledge that he has at 21, I wish I had, honestly. So those type of stories are inspirational to me, that make me really look at kind of my life as well. And I don't know how to like phrase it, but it's something that made me really happy and connect with him at a certain level. And I would hope we can all do the same with other people. Here's one of the questions that I have for every one of you guys. We'll start with Dre, since he kind of went last. Dre, like, what is your outview of sports?
For me, my out view of sports, I think, is one of those things, is one of those common ground type of things that everyone can just enjoy together at the same time. So, like, if you're like, for example, I think all of us are Laker fans.
Yeah.
Whether or not you like or dislike LeBron, you're still a Laker fan, and you still want the Lakers to be successful. So it's like one of those things where it's like it's entertainment, but it's like a common ground entertainment type of thing where we all can just relate and just be cool with each other because we all like the same thing. Mm-hmm. So, and it can help you in like a lot of like bad situation, say if you're going through like a breakup, or say you got a argument with your wife or your child or whatever the case may be, and you watch your favorite basketball team and say they won, I'm pretty sure that's gonna make you happy right then and there, because your team won, and like you can talk about it with us, and then we all can just discuss. So it's one of those things where, like I said before, it's a common, I guess, so to speak, entertainment ground, so to speak, for all of us. That's what I think.
Yeah. Okay, I could ride with that. What about you, Out Sneaker? What is your view on sports?
Well, what we're doing now. I mean, I'm in Australia. You guys are in the States. It transcends international waters. It transcends language. You don't need to speak any certain language to be able to understand a sport. I can watch soccer in Spanish. I can watch basketball in English. It doesn't really matter. And at the same time, we can all be sitting there and enjoying the exact same activity together and feeling that same joy that Dre was just talking about. And at the same time, it allows us to connect with everybody around the world. It's one of the simplest forms of enjoyment and one of the oldest forms of enjoyment. But the fact that it just can transcend any like language and color and distance is fantastic.
Yeah, man, that's actually a very powerful message right there. What about you, Nick? What's your view on sports? Oh, you're on mute, brother.
He's muted.
My apologies.
No, you're good.
I think it's one of the greatest unifiers that exists in the world. Even I look back and I think about my earliest moments with my dad going to Lakers games. It was like sports were one of the first reasons we had to bond together. Part of my story was my parents uprooted me from Southern California and dropped me in this small town in Northwest Oklahoma. And literally the only thing I had in common with those kids was basketball. I think about why I relate to sports so closely is because of so much that's tied up in it, whether it's emotion, like the victory, the struggle. I recently just watched the movie Rise on Disney Plus. If you guys haven't seen it, it's awesome.
No, yeah,
Go check it out. Or even like, Hustle, Adam Sandler's new movie on Netflix. It's like I get emotional watching that stuff. It doesn't even matter what the sport is necessarily. Like, I've been watching some other sports, and like the WSL for surfing just finished up, and to see like the new crown champions. It's like when you see the emotion come forth out of them, it's because they've been in the secret place, grinding, sacrificing, working, just like perfecting this craft. And so it's like beautiful to watch that culminate in victory, because it's like, how much has been put into that. And then to see it come to fruition in a moment is like one of the most beautiful things I think I've ever seen.
No, man, I completely agree with what you're saying. And everybody actually in here, I've completely agree with everyone. What about you, Nick? Excuse me, Nick. Tony, what about you? What is your view on sports?
Well, it's a little bit of what everybody has been saying, but personally, it's sports to my like it helped me instill some discipline, instill some like I was a very, like, going back to my youth, I was a very shy person. Like, I was a very quiet person, and sports helped me develop this connection with people without talking. It this thing where a group of four other people, like it's a group of five, where we're all in the court and we're trying to win a game, be it basketball, volleyball, even tennis. It's this thing where it helped me develop communication to a certain sense, to develop friendships, to talk about something common, to have common ground. Like even my dad, we're both car guys, but at the same time, our kind of like our talking points are a bit limited. But when it comes to sports, Lakers, things like that, like NBA, we just start talking and never stop. So it's this thing where it's another language that we all kind of commonly talk about.
Yeah.
That's my view on it.
Yeah, no, man. Yeah, like same thing goes for me, man. It's a little bit of everybody here. The way I feel about sports, it's a connection. There's grind to it, mindset. People are passionate about watching the sport, and it's really a community worldwide community that literally can just come together and just in one thing, whether it's the Lakers, whether it's the Vikings, whether it's the Cowboys, whether it's the Mets. There's just so much passion in sports that I think people tend to underestimate where the connection is at with us as human beings. Everyone in here, we're all here because we like a certain sport and we all like the same team, right? But it's because of sports, because outside of the Lakers, we probably honestly wouldn't talk to each other, because that connection, because like Odd Sneaker, he's in Australia. What are the odds that I'm going to meet someone from Australia that's a Lakers fan? What are the odds that Nick over here is in Austin, which I'm in Austin, and he's a Lakers fan? So there's a definitely connection for us as human beings that sports can actually bring us together as a community, which I think is a lot more powerful than just anything, really, honestly. And that actually kind of brings into the next topic, what I wanted to talk about. And whoever actually wants to take the mic first, just go for it. Like, I would love to hear what you guys are passionate about.
All right, go ahead, bro. Got it. You got it.
Whoever wants to take it, man.
I'll go.
I'm here for you guys. I want to hear your guys' stories, and then I'll tune in right after you guys. Odd Sneaker, if you want to take it, man, take it, man. What are you most passionate about?
Well, my passions have changed. Like, it's funny. As you get older, you find different things to be passionate about, and you find you point in different directions. And like, what I was passionate about when I was 20 is totally different to what I'm passionate about now at 33. For example, like, the reason I keep looking over is because I've got 2 dash hounds that are my babies at the moment, and they're just running around the house because they're like, I haven't seen you all day because you've been at work. And so I've got those as my passion. And then, as I said earlier, I've got my wife is pregnant, and so my daughter will undoubtedly be my passion again at the end of the year. But then when it comes down to passions that have stuck with me my whole life, I mean, basketball and baseball are those passions that have never gone away, no matter what my age is, no matter what my situation is. They're still there. The NBA is still rolling. The Major League Baseball is still rolling. I know it will always be there, and it's just a passion that I've had because it's a security thing.
Mm-hmm.
So just a bit of insight for me. My whole life, I've suffered from anxiety and depression, pretty solid. And it's one of those things where consistency is a really good thing for me. Consistency is something that helps me cope, and those things are always there. It's funny. I think it was either Nick or Dre before was saying about how it doesn't matter if you've had a terrible day or you need to have something to go back on.
Mm-hmm.
Win or lose, sport is fantastic, and so that's why I'm passionate about my family, and I'm passionate about my teams, because they're my consistency. They're my things that are always going to be there, and that's what drives my passion, and that's what drives my why.
Yeah, man, dude, I'm actually glad you brought up that whole anxiety thing, because a lot of people tend to shy away from mentioning things like that. And I just want to let everybody know out there, like, it's totally okay not to be okay. So if you're not okay, man, if you got to shout it out into the mountains, or you got to find somewhere, if you got to go into Twitter and go into spaces and tell somebody, do it, because at the end of the day, that probably saves somebody's life. So I don't want to say it like that either, but definitely it's just not, it's okay not to be okay. So I'm actually glad you brought that up. Dre, I know you wanted to go, man. What do you like? What are you most passionate about?
Wow, that's like a very generalized and broad question. For one, I guess another note about me is that I love music. I'm a drummer. I go to church, so I play drums, but I play piano. And I just love, like, at first I was brought up in the church, so I used to be okay with like drumming in church, but then, like, when you go to school, you start experiencing different kinds of genres of music.
Mm-hmm.
So it became to the point where I started like enjoying any kind of music, like literally any kind of music. So if, like, the BET Awards are going on, or whatever awards, again, the Grammys, and if they're performing, I really look to like really learn and see how they do it, because they made it big. So really and truly, I love music entirely. Whether if you're singing, you're playing the guitar, you're playing the triangle, you're playing the whatever you're playing, bro. I love it. There's always a story. There's always um an opportunity in every kind of in everything, especially when it comes to music. So I'm really passionate about music. I took a music class when I was in college. Well, I'm still in college, but my earlier days in college, and I met some dudes over my whole entire life that kind of really made my passion for music grow. Um, for a while, like I also like kind of have like anxiety problems. I'm actually just realizing that now about myself, to be honest. Like for a while I didn't realize that. And I'm like, yo, I'm really anxious about a lot of stuff. And like there's a time in my life where like I wasn't like really enjoying music. Like I got to a point where I'm like, yo, I'm done with this stuff. Um and then I have a best friend. He also does music too. And he kind of got me back on my feet, and he's like, yo, bro, keep doing it. And so that kind of helped me through a lot of the things that I've been going through, especially with with this COVID thing that's happened recently. Music has helped me along with that, and because of that, it made me even more passionate about it, because I realized, just like sports, music is that common ground type of thing too, where like I could base a friendship off of, or I can find a friend off of the kind of genre or the kind of song rather. And from then on, that makes that makes you happy with that friend. So music is one thing for sure. I think I should stop. I digress, but that's the first thing I'm really really passionate about.
Man, dude,
We
that's
can tell.
awesome. Yeah, no, that's awesome, dude. I never would have guessed that you were really passionate about music. See, this is exactly what the cafeteria room is about. Where I'm really diving into to get to know you guys and better understand who you guys are. And honestly, we have a lot more in common than what we really think. So that's awesome, man. Nick, man, what are you passionate about, bro?
Yeah. My struggle has always been having too many passions. I have so many. I know we're not talking about Lakers basketball, but
No, dude, you
really,
tell
like,
me whatever you're passionate
well,
about, bro.
I mean, I'm definitely passionate about Lakers basketball for sure. But basketball in general, I mean, that was the first thing I fell in love with. That was the first thing I shed blood, sweat, and tears for. I got a couple of full rides to play college ball to, like D2 and NAIA schools. But I mean, a lot of my life was in the gym. So, to me, that didn't feel like hard work, because I was doing the one thing I was passionate about and I love to do. So basketball has always been there. Like Odd Sneaker said, that's always been a mainstay for me. Writing is a passion for me. I'm still a staff writer for a magazine out of Southern California, which I really enjoy. It's just always been there. Working on a book right now. And really, like, sport in general. But I had a really bad basketball injury, which kind of took away some quickness, and I was a step behind. And so then somehow I transitioned into sand volleyball. And that's kind of really birthed out like a new passion for me, and have competed, the last about 4 years in beach volleyball, and still am. I'm in a league now, which I really enjoy. There's just something about like the work ethic and like, especially in life, like I found, because I have such a competitive fire, it's actually not appropriate. Like I call it 100-mile-an-hour Nick. It's not appropriate for 100-mile-an-hour Nick to come out, day to day. But like to be in a space where I can be like 100% just like, the Kobe assassin, like I want to kill you and it's okay. And to have that space is like, I've realized my heart really needs that. I need that outlet. And that's become a huge passion. But I would say also helping people. I love what Dre said, and also you, Anthony, because part of my background is in ministry. I was a pastor for a long time, and I still have some certifications as life coach. So for me, I actually love helping people, like being with them where they are, walking through seasons of life, walking through hardships. Because, like what you guys were sharing is a lot of people don't feel seen. A lot of people don't feel known. They don't know that it's okay to be battling what they're dealing with. And I don't know that I could ever work at something or give myself to something that I didn't feel like I was making people's lives better or improving them or helping in some way. And so really being able to just love on people where they are and walk with them, that's a huge passion of mine too.
Man, that's extremely powerful what you just said, Nick.
Appreciate it, man.
No, I appreciate you telling that. I learned a lot. I learned a lot from your 2-3 minute story that you just gave us, and it's definitely something that I will definitely take to heart. And if I ever need something, dude, I'm probably gonna come to you.
Always,
especially
man.
someone to talk to, because that's something, honestly, of something of mine that I've struggled with is talking with people. And I guess I'll jump in real quick, and then I'll let Tony go what he's passionate about. Like something that I'm like passionate about, I don't know if you guys would ever notice, maybe you guys might. I'd love to go fishing. A huge fish nut, man. Tight lines, like going out on that water and throwing a line in there, and if you want to crack open a beer or something, or go with a couple of buddies here, dude, there's nothing more stress relieving than throwing your line out on the water and just listening to that water just flow, all your thoughts to you or to yourself. And it's kind of just taking time to yourself to figure out like kind of who you are and what's your next steps. Like I take it as a meditation, honestly. Like I love to go fishing. I got myself a little boat out in Mexico that I'm ready to go like try and go get me some snook and just have some fun, man. And also with basketball too, like that, it was like a way for me to connect with other people, because I was my sister, like I was living back and forth from LA and San Antonio kind of my whole life. And my sister stayed put here in San Antonio, and I came back and forth. So I was always the guy either from Texas or the guy from California, wherever I went. So like my common ground to get along with people was through sports. Whether it was basketball, whether it was football, I was a huge basketball fan, but I was better at football, so I played football because I'm short and stocky, so it just, my profile fit better, my build fit better for football. So even with that, like I met so many people and connected with so many people and made so many friends just in that, man. And like basketball the same way too. Like I connected with these guys at another level, like almost like a brotherhood, like a brothership, I guess you could say it. And I don't want to say it saved my life, but it definitely it made going to high school a lot easier for me, and making friends was a lot easier that way. Same thing with like fishing, man. I've met so many people through Mexico, out here in Corpus. Like I have plans to go to like Florida. I want to even go to Australia and go fishing. Like you guys, I could ramble on about fishing. Like I love fishing. There's another passion too that I've recently have found too, is like actually trying to help people and give advice. Like I've been through a lot. And this is just a small backstory. I was 6 years old, about to be 7, and my mom passed away when I was young, and my dad wasn't really there either. So I had to grow up pretty young. My brother kind of tried to help, but like, long story short, man, that in itself, like for me, really helped me like be kind of the person that I am today. I'm not anywhere near perfect, but I think it molded me to understand life just a little bit more. Because life is short. We have to enjoy the little things in life. So that's just a small little backstory about me and kind of things that I'm passionate about. And I want to help people, man. I really do. And I want to spread the message to everybody. Like, again, it's okay not to be okay. Come talk to us. I'm here to listen to everybody. I think every once in a while needs somebody just to listen.
Yeah. Zero judgment.
Yeah, like with zero judgment, and that's something that I've been working on, and I've actually found a passion for it. Tony, man, I want to take it to you because I can keep rambling on about my passions. What are you passionate about, man?
Oh man, I here's the thing that's interesting though, and I think I would say this: everybody who says something here, I can relate to in a certain level. Like, and when it comes to passion, passion can be ever evolving. Like if that makes sense. Like your passion, like for me, my passion man, and I can go back to my youth, which I feel like I'm like very old, but but honestly, dude, cars for me, working
Okay.
on cars, like here's a little like a little story for you guys. Like I had an opportunity with my grandpa. Like my grandpa was kind of like my first best friend. Like, well, my dad was my friend, but I was raised kind of like in a little bubble back in Puerto Rico. And my grandpa used to take me to like to help out, do some stuff, and we had to take a car from my uncle, which was a stick, and I was only like 10 years old, and he's like, "Hey, you gotta drive that to from here to a mile over there," and I didn't have a license, and I've never driven a stick before, and he's like, "Yeah, go for it," and that was an experience, and I fell in love with cars. I fell in love with, like, my dad used to do a lot of mechanical stuff, and I found joy kind of fixing stuff. And here's the operating words: fixing stuff. Now, I am an engineer, so you can see how from one thing led to another, and I love that part, which is fixing, and that's the thing. Sometimes passion is ever evolving, because I switched it up from, like, I moved to the States. I didn't have a car, or I didn't have a car that I was like, it it's a Corolla that goes from point A to point B. Like, it's not really inspiring. It's not an inspiring drive. So um I went to church, and I actually learned how to play the bass, and I learned how to play the drums, and then I learned how to play the guitar. And because and that's where I say that the passion is what you want, like what you feel you want to do with your talents, with like what makes you feel good, and what makes you experience something that's more than just the activity, if that makes sense. Like, I can go swimming, but honestly, if I go swimming and I feel something more than that, then it just opens up a door. And sometimes, in my case, I am always at a I am working in a high stress job. I have, and just, I'm going to go to a little bit detail in terms of personal stuff. Like, my wife and I, we've been dealing with health situations, and that goes both ways. And sometimes life gives you, like, if it's not financial stuff, it's not personal stuff, it's loss, it's so many obstacles and stuff that happens in life, that you need outlets. You need your passions to kind of get you through stuff also. Like, and that's, it could be anything. And for me, I found that if I can't do A, I can do B. Apologies for the dog that's crying. She wants attention. But honestly, it's this thing where I had to evolve my passion in order to help me get through stuff. Like, I had to evolve from one thing to another. Like, I couldn't work on a car. I couldn't drive, or, like, I used to do autocross. I used to do some racing. I couldn't do that anymore. So I had to evolve to something else. I have to expand, if that makes sense. And sometimes that happens in life. And for me, I found that whatever it is, it could be ping pong. Like, it could be whatever. It could be anything. It could be even anything. Honestly, I'm blanking out. But in the end of the day, man, like, I feel like you need passion in life. Like, you need to be passionate about something. And also, in terms of mental health and whatnot, it is real. It is real, and passion also involves it. Like, sometimes they're unspoken, but they're truth. Like, they're tied. But anyways, um Alan, because I can continue.
No, it's
So
okay. I
I'm
mean,
going to
if you
stop
want to,
myself.
if you have more to say, just say it.
I feel like
No,
we
no,
have a lot to say.
Yeah, no, I mean, it looks like everybody here has a lot to say what they're passionate about. It's because it really is a revolving door. Like, one day we could be passionate about radio broadcasting, we'll just say, for instance, or writing. But when it comes to September or October, I should say, we're all passionate about the Lakers. So no, yeah, no, it's totally, we have a lot to say about being passionate. And speaking of, like, passion and things like that, I kind of want to go back into just a little bit into sports and kind of tie this in. And we'll actually start with Dre. Actually, let's start with Nick. Nick, please, what is your favorite team? Which we kind of already know, but let's get back into it. Like, what's your favorite team, and how did you become a fan of those teams?
Yeah, pretty much all three of them I was almost born into. My family is a house divided when it comes to USC and UCLA, so that was always interesting growing up. But my dad was always a big, really my dad and my grandparents, big Dodgers fans and Lakers fans. So my experience was getting to experience those things as a kid for the first time. I remember I fell in love with basketball for the first time in 1996 during the NBA Finals, Bulls versus Sonics. And the very first player I ever fell in love with was Gary Payton, because he had so much swagger, and he he just talked. He just talked so much smack, but he always backed it up, which I loved. And the thing about those finals that I appreciated was, the Sonics, I think they dropped the first two games. They were down 0-2. Gary Payton said, "That's it. I'm covering MJ." And, it only went 6, but they actually looked a lot different as a team against them. And I was became like an underdog Sonics fan quasi because of Gary Payton, just to see the style that he brought and the intensity and the competitiveness and the nastiness. That's when I fell in love with the NBA for the first time. And my first Lakers game was actually at the Forum before they were at the Staples Center, and it was in 1996 in Kobe's rookie year. I remember for Christmas I got tickets to a game, and my dad took me. And 1996, Kobe's rookie season. That was all part of what helped me just become, in love with the Lakers. And that continued to happen. I mean, a lot of it was because of family memories. Like, I remember when we were down 20 plus points against the Blazers, and, the infamous Kobe to Shaq alley-oop. Like, I remember exactly where I was when I saw that. I remember exactly where I was next to my best friend when Kobe hit that bank shot over Dwayne Wade as a game winner. Like, so many memories that I have with friends, family, loved ones, are because we were sitting in that moment watching, the Lakers. So that was part of it. And then once I started playing, the competitive juices started going, and I realized I can be pretty decent at this. And I just threw myself headfirst into it. And then, part of my story, I was talking about being uprooted from Southern California and placed into a small town in Northwest Oklahoma. I didn't have anything in common with any of those guys. The one common thing I had was basketball. And, it just allowed me to kind of throw myself into it even more. So even during the summers when the gym was locked down, I'd find a way to break into the gym and play in a 90-degree, non-AC gym because I loved it. And so those were kind of the moments for me that, grew the love that I've had over the years, over and over and over.
That's interesting. Yeah, I'm the same way, man. I was born into my teams, Lakers, Dodgers. The only one team that I wasn't born into was football. Like, LA kind of didn't really have a team. It was either the Niners or the Raiders. And I don't know, man. I look back on the football and I didn't really like those teams at the time. And kind of the Cowboys just stood out to me just a little bit, but I wasn't really fixated, because this is gonna be funny. The first team I actually started watching football was Atlanta. Was actually Michael Vick. Y'all can murder me for that one. It's okay. Michael Vick, to me, for some reason, was just probably one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. He's quick, hard, he was just a hard ass. I just could see him running down the field, and I was like, dude, I kind of want to be like that guy. So that's one team that I was really, really, really fond of. And I played the sport too, so I was quick. I thought I was untouchable, invincible. Those competitive juices for me too were I'm super, super, super competitive. So that's kind of what got me into basketball as well, especially football. And the Lakers, watching them grow up. I remember the first time that I actually watched the Lakers was actually Jordan and in the Magic game. It was later on, because I was born in the 90s, so it was a little bit later on. I can't remember specifically the year, but I remember my uncle tuning the game on. He had just came to visit San Antonio. He turned on the game, and me and my cousin were just glued to the TV. I can't specifically say exactly what caught us to it, but can just remember to this day just sitting down in front of that TV and watching Magic and Jordan just kind of just go back and forth with each other. So that's kind of how I got into the teams as far as like I got older, but I was born into like watching Lakers and Dodgers. I'm kind of a little newbie to them because I have like stopped watching baseball, and I'm kind of getting back into it now, and with football as well. So that's going to come in a later time where we could talk a little bit more stories about baseball and football for anybody that wants to talk about them. That's kind of, again, those are my favorite teams, which is the Cowboys, Dodgers, and Lakers, and that's how I became a fan of those teams. What about you, Osneaker?
Well, it's always going to be a different story for someone from Australia because we can't really get born into it. I thought I'd also put out there, my name is Josh. Everybody online knows me as Odd Sneakers. Everything's always Odd Sneakers. But
welcome, Josh. Welcome.
Yes, it's one of those things where there is like 2 trillion Joshes in the world. Like I grew up at my age and my school, it was always Josh, and you'd have to put your last name because there'd be 10 of them in your class and things like that. So yeah, so that's just seeing as we're all getting on a personal level. But yeah, so for me, like kind of like with Nick, like my first introduction to basketball was the Bulls. In Australia, everything was the Bulls. It was Jordan. It was the big, and anything that was big enough to get overseas was what we got. That's what we saw. I remember like there was like Slam Jam videos and things like that when I was a kid, and I'd be really into basketball. And unlike for you guys, you would literally have to go to 3 or 4 different sports stores here just to find a half decent basketball. You could find a million like Aussie rules footballs and soccer balls and things like that, but basketballs were hard to find. It's very, very different now because the sport's blown up in Australia and the NBL has just gone insane, and even we attract international players now. But for me, the Lakers was Kobe always represented something to me that was bigger than sport. The Mamba mentality, the focus, all that sort of stuff was something that always stood out to me, and as well with my age, Kobe was kind of like my generation's Jordan, because Jordan was sort of towards the end of his career. He'd gotten to that point now where he'd retired, he'd gone to the Wizards, that sort of stuff. Whereas Kobe represented staying with one team, being bigger than the sport that you play and things like that. So that Kobe as a player was what brought me to the Lakers, but then I stayed with the Lakers from that.
Okay.
And then LeBron coming to the Lakers was just something that ignited my passion even more because I'm a big LeBron fan as well. And then I was lucky enough to like I traveled to the States pretty much every year. COVID sort of put a bit of a halt to that. Got to see my first NBA game, which was Lakers versus Bucks. I think it was the year before COVID, so it would have been 2018. We got our butts kicked. And then straight away after that season, we traded everybody for Anthony Davis. So that was a very different team that I got to watch. But that's where it is for the Lakers for me. My other big team that I follow is the Mets with the baseball. Don't hate me, Dre. I don't know if there's always that Yankees Mets divide.
Man, but we'll get to that.
Yeah. We good. But no, I mean, again, that was for a lot of Australians when they follow, well, a lot of international people, when you follow a sport, it's usually the first team you watched or it's the first team that you got to go see live. And when I traveled over to the States in 2012, I went and saw the Subway Series, so I watched Yankees versus Mets. And for me, it was that sort of thing where I was like, well, everybody follows the Yankees. Like in Australia, it's just Yankees. And I just was like, nah, I have to go for the different thing. So I started following the Mets, and then that's what it's been for me ever since. So, repping the Mets hat now because I thought it was a bit cliche if I jumped on here with more Lakers gear. I'm noticing Nick's got about 400 jerseys behind him, which if we went upstairs to my cupboard, would look very similar. So I was like, no, I'll put a Mets hat on just for something.
I need to update. I need to upgrade my jersey. I got a couple of jerseys. This is a Kuzma jersey that I got on on my seat here. I've been a Kuzma fan. I actually kind of miss Kuzma's. Just throw that out there. So I definitely was riding the Kuzma train for a while, and I'm kind of glad. I'm kind of sad that he left. Dre, what about you, man? What teams do you follow? I know you follow the Lakers.
Yeah,
And
Lakers.
how did you become a fan of that team, or the teams that you like?
So like, all right, let's start with basketball. So my basketball, I guess, passion started off actually. Well, my mom and dad were basketball fans. I was born in '94, so that was like the peak, I guess, so to speak, of Jordan. So I was always kind of around basketball, but not really realizing it. My mom was a Bulls fan, and my dad was a Knicks fan. So you already know how that went back in those days. I don't know how they made it work, but they made it work. But then after that, I kind of like was just playing basketball games, but not really paying attention to the players. And then one year, what actually got me to fall in love with basketball was actually Dwayne Wade, in 2006, when he had that phenomenal final series. And I'm just like, yo, that guy is nice. Like, I like how he plays. And to be honest with you, I wasn't always a LeBron fan. Like, a lot of my closer friends know that, but a lot of my outer friends thought that I was like a LeBron James fan like throughout his whole career. I wasn't a LeBron James fan for a while. I was still on the Dwayne Wade train, and then he got injured. And then I, didn't know who else to watch anymore. And then LeBron James started going bananas, and I'm like, yo, he's actually pretty nice because back in the day, LeBron had a jump shot, but he always was going to the paint. And I didn't really like that. I'm just like, there's no skill in that. You just go into the paint. But after a while, he started flourishing, and then I kind of like transitioned from like still Dwayne Wade, to LeBron James, and then next they're on the same team, and I'm just like, oh my god, this is like a dream come true. My favorite player and my other favorite player. But then I started noticing the other guy in LA, number 24 and number 8, and I'm like, this guy is really also really nice. And then he hit that game winner over Dwayne Wade that I'll never forgive him, but I kind of do forgive him for it. So it was kind of like a struggle, but I started being more of a Laker fan a little bit towards the end of Kobe's career, to be honest with you. So I kind of didn't get to enjoy the fullness of Kobe. I did see him, but I didn't enjoy the fullness of it. And then when he dropped that 61, was it 61 or 60? The last 60, right?
60. Yeah.
Yeah, when he dropped that 60, I was like, wow, this is actually amazing. And I'm like, when I have my kids, I'm gonna tell them, if you ever wanna have an idea who Kobe was, just watch his last game, And I've been a Kobe fan since then, and then been a Laker fan since then, and then LeBron happened to play for the Lakers, and I'm like, wow, what do you know? Another dream come true, So everything kind of like rounded out itself properly for me. I'm still a big Dwayne Wade fan. I still think he's a top 3 shooting guard of all time. Sometimes I get a little bit overzealous and say he can possibly be the top 2, but I'll leave that for a different discussion. But for baseball now, so baseball is actually pretty simple. I'm a Yankees fan. I used to play in church, after church was done. We used to go to the parking lot and play baseball. This was in the Bronx. This was actually close to where the Yankees would play. And we would always act like we were, Derek Jeter, we were, Robinson Cano. We would always act like we're those players because in the Bronx, if most people in the Bronx and in New York, you're a Yankee fan. Most people are. And so I pretty much merely adopted that when the Yankees won the championship. I forgot when that was, but that's what made me really enjoy the Yankees. My favorite Yankee player was actually Robinson Cano, not Derek Jeter, not forgot his name. Forget about it. He hits a lot of home runs. Uh, it's actually Robinson Cano, and from then on, I've been following the Yankees. And that's pretty much how I fell in love with those teams. The Giants, I'm just a Giants fan because I live in New York, so I kind of have to be. Um, so yeah, but that's my little background story with my favorite teams and how I became a fan of them.
What about you, Tony? What are your favorite teams, and how did you become a fan of those teams?
So it's interesting. Like the first ever team was that I could remember watching was actually the Sonics, which with Kemp. Like that, there was a game. I don't remember the details, but I was saying like, "Oh, is that Kemp?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay. Who is he?" That's the first game I can remember. Then Jordan, a bit like you can hear the Jordan like noise because it's 1994, 1995, 1996. Like you can or 19 the 90s. You can hear the imprint that he left, but in Puerto Rico, it's difficult. Like you could watch games, but at home I couldn't really watch them, or at least I wasn't. My mom would say like, no, 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 it's too late. You better go to bed, or things like that. So I never had the opportunity to watch games live. So it really didn't impact me until I saw that Laker, that Kobe Shaq era, and that's when I kind of fell in love with the Lakers, and that's the point where I'm like, oh my god, and that alley oop and that whole series and Robert Ory's shot, like there was so many impactful things that I was all in awe of it. But then I remember like there was a thing where that's the team that I like. But then here's the thing though, like I that's my favorite team, but I have kind of like a lot of teams, if that makes sense. Like then it was a kind of like what Wade did with that team when Shaq went from the Lakers to the Miami Heat. Then I started watching the Heat games, and then when Wade kind of went crazy in the finals, I'm like, oh my god, this dude, this like, and then the nickname Flash and all that. Like I just again like I fell in love with Miami. I wasn't particularly happy with what happened with the Heatles or whatever they want to call it, like the whole 3-team thing, the three star model. But it was fun to watch. It was incredibly fun to watch, and honestly, I kind of fell in love more with I wouldn't say fell in love. It's kind of like I the mad respects with LeBron James, and kind of like that's when I started following a little bit of him, and like that Boston Game 6 where he just had the look of like I am going to destroy you kind of look, and that kind of lit a fire in me too, and I was always dreaming of a matchup between LeBron and Kobe in the finals for the longest time. Like I always had that, and but what's funny is that's for the NBA sphere of things. The other sphere is I have no baseball teams. I have no NFL teams, but I do have kind of like another favorite team would be the F1 teams. Like I don't know if you guys watch F1 or that, but I am passionate about that as well. And there's a lot of teams like the McLaren teams. You can say Mercedes. Like there's like I love the sport so much that I kind of love each team except Ferrari because they're just fun to laugh at sometimes. I'll probably show you some clips later, but it's just that's how I kind of fell in love with them. It's kind of like in terms with F1, it was more what one of my sacrifices or one of my things to finish college was to build with a group an F1 college F1 SAA standard F1 car to compete. And one of my areas was the internal combustion engine, the whole engine side. So I never knew what F1 was at that point. I never knew, like in 2010, I was like, what's an F1 car? And then I kind of slowly but surely fell in love with it. And then I never knew that F1 spanned it to 1970 something, 1950s, it's such a rich history, and that's kind of like from my studies from college to what I do now. It's this thing where it just I fell in love with that sport, and a particular team. I don't have a particularly favorite team because I kind of have them all kind of the same. I kind of just love F1, if that makes sense. So
No, that makes sense. That makes plenty of sense. That makes.
So did you build an F1 car?
Have you done that yet?
Oh, no, so okay. Let me premise this. It's
Or
not
an
like
F1
an
spec car?
actual. It's a It's called like an F1
Like a
SA,
model?
like FS
Like a small one?
FSAE. Yeah, it's a way smaller model. It doesn't. It only use a 600cc motorcycle engine with, and it also uses kind of like the intake is limited to only like a 25
Yep.
cent Venturi style. It's what I'm trying to get at is it's all scaled down. It's all compact, but it's kind of fun because you're competing with other colleges. Like it's again, it's this thing where I never knew it existed until my last year, and I'm like, oh, we gotta build this. Oh, we gotta design this. Oh, okay, cool. So yeah, it's rather fun. It was probably the best years of my college. Was that last year?
That's awesome.
Oh, that is
Austin,
awesome.
Texas. Only
That's really
F1
cool.
stop in the United States.
No, actually, no, not anymore.
No, it's
So
two now.
we now have Miami, which was this year, and now next year's gonna be Las Vegas. So we're gonna have 3 stops.
Nice.
So
Nice.
And we still have Melbourne.
and Melbourne too. My heart goes to Danny Rick, but you know,
We have a long history of Formula One drivers having a lot of promise and then going nowhere. Like you look at Mark Webber and then you look at Ricardo, and it's just like, look, we had high hopes, but hey, you got there.
you did good.
You're gonna have to
You
teach me
did-
about
you-
F1.
You made it. Good for you.
Yeah, so we kind of lost the room. Like,
No, you didn't
Josh
lose the
Josh and
room.
me kind of like went on F1 tangent.
Yeah,
but
2 of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna have to teach me about F1 because I don't know anything about it.
yeah, that's
Yeah, I don't know.
future episodes for ABS.
Yeah, future
For
episode
those
for
who don't know
ABS.
it, yeah.
For
Cheeky
those who
plug.
don't know, watch the Netflix series because that's what got me
Okay.
into Formula One.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So
What's it called?
I was a bit about Formula One, and then I watched that Netflix series.
What's it called?
And that's what
Drive to
is it
Survive.
Drive to Survive.
Drive
Yeah.
to Survive. Okay, I'll check it out. It's
if
like
you
a
want high
documentary.
stakes, yeah, it's kind of like a documentary with a lot of drama, like drama
Okay.
to the
I love
10th degree.
documentaries, man.
It's basically like Hard Knocks meets Formula One, but they
Okay.
just follow every team rather
Interesting.
than just one team, and
Yeah,
they
I'm
go
a
through the
sucker
whole
for I'm a sucker
the
for
whole
documentaries
season.
for sure.
Oh, same.
Sucker for documentaries, man. I love to like learn. That's another passion of mine too. I like to learn.
And I love
to kinda
behind
throw
the
that out
scenes
there.
of teams.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
man.
like,
No,
I think when they had the franchise and then there's Hard Knocks and all those sorts of shows, I can't get enough of them.
yeah, I'm gonna check it out actually, and I will give you my cliff notes at the end of it. What I think about F1 after that. So yeah, no, guys, I really this is awesome, man. I'm glad we all got together and started getting to know each other. I know I've kept you here we're at almost an hour. We're almost done. I just do have a couple of questions for you guys, just to kind of like just know just a little bit more about you guys. Is there something out there or something that resigns to you or a specific story that inspires you? So let's go with Tony. Tony, take the floor. Is there a story out there that actually inspires you?
Wow, like
Or is there a story that you want to like tell that you might inspire someone? It doesn't have to be a specific story that like inspires you, or maybe you want to go ahead and try to inspire somebody.
I apologize. I'm
See,
backing out
everybody's
a bit here.
reactions is like tells me I did not tell anybody about these topics. There's a reason why I don't tell anybody about these topics. Why? Because I want an honest, truthful answer from everybody. You guys don't have time to think about your guys' stories. You don't have nothing, like no time to do it. So it's straight off the dome. Like, okay, this is something that's true and glued to them. So yeah, that's it's specific. Like that's why I ask these questions like that.
So all right, here's the thing. So everybody hear me speak. Okay, so there's one particular story that I have that's a bit personal, but I didn't know until I was actually dating my wife. And it was interesting because, and this story I can't really tell that much, but it sticks with me even to this day, and it kind of inspired me to be better, if that makes sense. So, and I'm probably going to generalize it a bit, so I apologize because it's not like there's some personal details to it, but it's just to this day, like my wife's mom. So she she was happily married. She had my wife, and only when my wife was actually like 3 or 4 months old did her dad die, and it died from cancer, and it kind of devastated her to the point where she had to raise not only her daughter, but it also had to raise kind of like her like two girls by herself. Um, Work, provide, succeed, and it's been like this thing where sometimes you hear that a person dies and you're like, you don't, sometimes if it's not something close to you, you don't relate until it happens like close to you. And the thing is, when I heard that story, it felt like it was something that happened like how can I explain this? Like it impacted me to the point. Yeah, it really hit home to the point where you can see the sacrifice that she had to do to build, to provide, to nourish, kind of like my wife life goals, things like that. And to this day, she does everything for her daughters. She does it for now her grandkids. She does everything, and she doesn't ask for anything in return. And that's impactful to me because you know it speaks to this genuine love, like this genuine like I will do anything and everything for you. No BS, no like I'm gonna cry, I'm gonna be devastated, I'm gonna be emotionally destroyed, but I'm still gonna go 8 a.m., 6 a.m. to work, and I'm gonna provide to my family. And working how many hours a week, doing whatever it takes. Like she would say, like, let's go to a hotel. And she would say this story and like, but weren't you financially unstable? She's like, yeah, I would probably had way too many debt, but I wanted to see a smile on those girls. So it's this thing as a father now. I take it to heart where I want to see a smile on my kids. I want to see like it flip a switch to a point where I respect parents. I respect those sometimes the unspoken stories that mold people to where they're at now, and kind of like it's very deep, and sometimes like that was a story from another person that helped me also be a father that I am now to a certain degree.
Yeah.
Like it kind of molded me to be like I am in a high stress job. I am in a like like if you see my schedule, you're like, so how many hours of sleep kind of situation. But I do it because I want my kids to have the opportunity to smile, to have the things, and not the things that I didn't have because I was blessed, but it's this thing where I'm doing it because I love my family, because I want them to be okay. Like, and I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm saying it wrong, but it's more of a sense of feelings rather than words at this stage. So, and that's something that a story kind of inspired me to the degree where even the words that she was saying didn't really, like, it was at sometimes gerbled, but the essence behind it, the feelings, that was conveyed, that was connected. So that's my story that inspired me, at least that portion. And the one that Alan kind of like, just say a story that inspires you, and I'm like, I have to put the, like, that's the first thing that popped into my mind. So there you go.
What about you, Nick? What's a story that like resonates with you?
When you asked that question, two people came to mind. I would say on the family side, it was definitely my grandfather. Mm-hmm. He came from a small town in New Mexico and was literally like in the coal mines, but he had a dream to be an engineer and put himself through college and became, I think he started out as an aeronautical engineer and then actually shifted eventually to oceanographic engineer. Mm-hmm. But the stuff that man accomplished in his lifetime was like ridiculous. I mean, he worked on the first team he worked on the team that created the first plane to break the sound barrier. He invented the world's first underwater sea restaurant. He just it was, to me, it's almost like it's that quintessential story of the American dream of like, he had it in his heart and he put in the hard work and the sacrifice and dedication, and he got there. And, you know, even growing up, my father moved from California to Florida when I was pretty young, and my stepdad and I didn't see eye to eye. And so he was kind of the father figure to come in and like really help like pour life into me, speak identity and affirmation over me, and like really get me to believe, like, if you believe you can do something and you're capable, you can do it. Like, if you dream it and you want it, go get it. And so just knowing his story, his background, and where everything he accomplished and how far he went was just, it's always going to inspire me. Like, you know, he was one of the greatest, most influential people in my life. The other one is almost easy to pick, but it was Kobe. Like, you know, from day one that I fell in love with the sport, Kobe was there. Like, I got so spoiled. I think Lakers fans got so spoiled by Kobe. But, you know, I think it was Odd Sneakers had mentioned it. You know, it wasn't just Kobe the basketball player. Like, it was Kobe's mindset. It was his hunger. He had this curiosity. You know, when he wanted to learn how to do something, he would go to the best in the business and just say, hey, can I, you know, pull on your wisdom and your experience? Can I ask you questions? Can I learn from what you did? He just had that satiating hunger and curiosity. He had that drive. He had that competition. You know, he was, we got to see so many moments of him being a great father. And so it wasn't even just the greatness that he exemplified on the basketball court. It was the mindset, the work ethic, all the things that he embodied were aspects that I wanted to embody and I wanted to become and grow in as a human, as a man, as a father, as a husband. So, you know, for me, those are the two things I think of. And what's beautiful is I think about, like, I had this crossroads moment where I was playing baseball and basketball. And I remember it was my grandfather I went to specifically. And I was like, Papa, I want excellence. And I want to do something really well. So I'm either going to just give all of myself to baseball or basketball. Which one should I do? And it was my grandfather that was like, look, basketball has so much more action. You're going all the time. And I was a hyper, you know, little kid with so much energy. So for me, that was the perfect outlet. And the second my grandfather pushed me towards basketball, I was like, that's it. So that was the beautiful tie-in of like him being the impetus behind throwing myself headlong into basketball. But by far, those are the first two I thought of.
Yeah, and that's just listen to your guys' like stories that inspire you guys is completely interesting to me. Like I love it, to be honest with you. Odd Sneaker, man, what's a story that inspires you?
It's not really like a story so much that inspires me. I'm gonna cheat a little bit here and piggyback off of what Nick said.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna sort of bring it relevant to now too. As you guys know, I've got a daughter on the way at the end of the year, and so the way that Kobe was this poster child of girl dad, and the way that Kobe focused on WNBA, focused on a league for his daughters, focused on being the best. Like, he would be the perfect role model that anybody would look at, say LeBron with his two sons and go, oh yeah, he's going to have sons. They're going to be in the NBA. They're going to dominate. It's going to be what it is. But Kobe, he had, correct me if I'm wrong, 3 girls.
Yep.
And he then inspired himself to be the best girl dad that he could be. And so he is my inspiration when it comes to being a dad, because I look at it and I go, I got a daughter on the way. I got to make sure that this world gives her everything that it can possibly give, make sure she gets out of it everything that she can possibly get out of it. And yeah, so for me, it's not really a story. It's sort of something that I'm working on right now and looking at what he does and trying to build that future.
Okay. No, yeah. I think he has 4 daughters, right?
Yeah, I think
I believe it's 4. Yeah, no, that's
the eldest, yeah.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. What about you, Dre? Is there anything out there that resigns with you, a story that you want to tell, or something that resigns with you?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could give like an example. So 2 people that come to mind. Can you guys hear me, by the way?
Yeah.
All right. So my dad is like, he's my dad, of course, but he's like one of my closest friends. Um, I tell him all the time. I tell him, I say, hey man, if you weren't my dad, like that we will definitely be like best of friends on like a different like time continuum. Like we will be best friends, and he also agrees too. The reason why is because I have like two separate relationships with him, where of course I respect him as my father, but it's also like I also have this friendship with him, and he's always kind of like guided me and like throughout life. So one story I would say is that um he's always spoken to me about treating people kind. By the way, he's like a pastor, but that also helps. But aside from that, I think this is who he generally like who he is. Like a kind person. He always told me about just being patient and being kind to everyone that you can be. Um, that can help you along the way. He's worked in a job like years ago. He was a crane mechanic, and he was working like pretty much in the junkyard.
Mhm.
And he worked there. I'm not sure. I think it was either 10 years or 20 years. I'm not sure. But it was helping to pay the bills. But he really got familiar with cranes to the point where, and well, it wasn't like the ideal job, but it was helping, pay the bills because it's me and I have a brother and a sister, so it's helping pay all the bills to the point where he found a new job, and yeah, he didn't need a college degree or anything. The simple fact that he had so much experience in that field kind of propelled him into like a dream job where he's doing a lot less and getting paid more. So he always told me, Dre, just be patient. And his boss never really treated him really well at all, actually. And he always come home and tell me, different things, different stories. But yeah, he still treated him pretty, really kindly. And that kind of stuck with me because patience and treating people kindly or nice, however you want to word it, is a key thing in life because you don't want to burn too many bridges. So let me just give more of like a little more of a background story with Crane. So now he's a crane inspector, which means now he has to go around the city and inspect the cranes to see if they're good enough to go to build whatever building you're trying to build. When he was working in a crane like junkyard. So he's pretty much like the police for cranes. Let's just put it like that to make it better. So you have to go into like he went into my his old boss's junkyard and told him that one of your cranes are not good enough to pass. I'm gonna have to give you a ticket. But my dad kind of like let it pass, even though all those years he was pretty much being treated badly, and he can't really let it pass because it will fall back on him. So he told him that if you just fix your crane within the next 2 or 3 days, whatever it is, I can let it pass. So he told me that the reason why he did that was because you're trying to show people that you don't have any malice against them. That just because you've done wrong to me doesn't mean I should do wrong to you. Um, and it was actually a good thing because if you would have gave him that ticket, it would have like he would have to pay that big amount of. Sometimes the tickets are like 25,000. Let's just put it like that.
Wow.
So yeah, so he would have to pay that, and he was already going through a lot because he just lost my dad as a worker. And he told me the reason why he gave him mercy was because you give mercy to those, and they will give mercy to you. Um, so like, that was like one example. So that's why every time when I go around people, when I'm in the chapter with you guys, I'm always so kind because it's like kindness make the world go around. The next person, is actually LeBron James. It's not because of what he does in the court. I can't do anything he does in the court, really. Uh, but it's really what he stands for, and how he carries himself as a father, as an entrepreneur, as someone that came from a very small beginning. Those are the two things that LeBron and my dad have in common is that they came from small beginnings. My dad came from Jamaica, where not a lot of things was really going on in Jamaica. And his mother also passed away when he was around like 16 or 18. So, and he wasn't really, he was close with his dad, but his dad was like a hard type of person where he was just no nonsense. So there wasn't really much of like a fatherly love with that. So like LeBron kind of gave me a view that even though, and my dad, that even though you can come from a small beginning, you can still become great, you know. And that goes back to my first couple of points is patience and kindness. LeBron's pretty kind to everyone outside the basketball court, but but he's pretty even on the basketball court as well sometimes too. But it's all about the fact that don't despise small beginnings because small beginnings can turn into great endings. And that's just pretty much it. I mean, LeBron knows he has two children, two kids, right? Two boys. He treats his wife, as it seems like, very well, and I aspire that whenever I get married, that I'll treat my wife really well. That's one of my desires. That's one of my things I'm passionate for. But you know, that's pretty much my little story of inspiration.
Yeah, man, guys, dropping some knowledge on me. Seriously, guys, I really appreciate it. I'm gonna give you guys a story about something that inspires me, and it's I don't even think I've told Tony this story. So my wife, so let's see, my father-in-law, right? His story is one of the most interesting stories that I've ever heard. And it definitely like has inspired me, and we'll connect the dots as I go. So we're talking a young we're talking a kid that's 12 years old, maybe even younger, 11, alcoholic father, got to do everything for his father, so like for his dad, because his dad was just an alcoholic. So at a very, very young age, this dude, like, we're talking like, again, 11, 12 years old, he's like, I need to fend for myself. Like, I need it. My dad's not really, he's not cutting it. He's not doing the job for me specifically, or for my mother. This dude at 11 years old is going down to the bay and like where he's from in Mexico, asking the captains for a job at 11 years old, asking the captains, doesn't have his sea legs under him, doesn't know what it's like to be on a boat for days at a time, doesn't even know how to fish, doesn't know how to tie fishing knots, nothing, like absolutely not. 11 years old, asking these captains to hop on their boat for days at a time so he can feed himself and feed his mom, because his father was an alcoholic and was using his money to buy alcohol. Now we're gonna go a little bit into the future. As he's getting older, he's becoming more reputable, and as far as like a fisherman, and now he's living in this. Now instead of living with his father, he buys a little piece of land next to his father, and we're talking like a cardboard house. You want to say 4 walls with the door entrance, with one kid on the way. So just imagine, like, I almost think some of us, not us in particular on this panel, take those little things for granted. We're talking about an 11-year-old child in the 70s, probably, because I don't know the top of my head how old he is right now, asking for a job. Like, where in the world right now where could we find an 11-year-old kid looking for a job right now? Like, that really like resigns to me, because like me now, where I'm at now, it was a grind to get into the apartment where I'm at right now. Like, we're talking like a grind where I mean, like, I was dishwashing at places. I was riding my bike to work at 12 o'clock at night, coming from home, living in a hotel. Like, this is like living in a hotel, paying $800 a month living at a hotel, because I couldn't like find a really like a place to live. And this is when I first met my wife. And his story of like him and his dad, and the way like he became where he's at now he owns, like, I don't know, like 5 different types of land in Mexico. He has more than a couple of boats. He has his commercial fishing license now. Like, this guy's totally financially okay right now. I mean, he's been like, he doesn't really travel because they're still kind of small minded over there. And I don't mean that a knock on the city. It's just it's a really, 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 really indigenous town. Small. Like, I mean, all of us they know me already over there, but as soon as like Nick or Dre or Odd Sneaker, like they come off that bus, they know that everybody in that whole entire town know that you're there. It's like, it's a really, really, really small town. And he's there. He's totally, completely fine. Like, he's got play in Mexico where he's from. He's got friends in high places now. So like, that grind from when he was 11 years old to where he's at now is like amazing. The struggle, like from 11, working and going out see, like not knowing where his next meal is going to come from, whether his dad's going to be out on the sidewalk passed out drunk, like that, like is super, super motivational for me. Because again, I've struggled to be where I'm at right now. And I can literally take a Drake quote and say, I've started from the bottom and I'm still climbing to get to that top. And I speak for myself when I say that. And I'm sure that you guys can kind of understand where I'm coming from. So that's one of the stories that really resigns with me, is his coming up of where he's at now, is my father-in-law. Another person that I've never have mentioned, and not even to him, is actually my brother. Because at a young age, he was kind of forced to take care of me and I have a twin sister. So I don't know if I don't even think I've ever told you guys that I have a twin sister, and I have an older brother, and I have a younger sister. So for my brother at 10 or 11 years old to take care of his two younger siblings and to explain to them that our mother is not coming back, I couldn't fathom what was going through his mind at that age. And I probably don't tell my brother enough this, but I do. I love my brother sincerely. I fight with him all the time. I argue with all the time. I'm just the little brother, and I guess that comes with the territory, and that's kind of my job. But I've never told my brother that he kind of is one of my heroes, and that he inspires me to be a better person, a better father, hard work. Like, this guy too, man. He's the same thing. Like, we both have started from the bottom. We're talking like he was kind of one of the last ones in our I guess I don't want to say generation, but in our family, to have a kid at 18 years old. But from when he was struggling, and then he had another kid too. And through all this, like him struggling with his kid and his other kid, he actually ended up graduating, going to school for 8 years with I believe he has a master's now. And I believe he's actually the first person in our family to graduate with the master's. And that struggle with like having kids and going to school at the same time is really real. Like, I sit there and try to think about it all the time, and I kind of tell myself it's too late, and I probably know it's not. But his struggle with that, with like to be where he's at now, is definitely inspiring. And if he ever listens to this, man, brother, hey, I love you, man. I do care about you, and you're actually one of my heroes. So that's kind of a couple of stories off the top of my mind that kind of inspire me and kind of resign with me, kind of make me who I am. And I know I know we've kept you guys on for an hour and 30 minutes. We're at the last part of the segment, guys. Whoever wants to take the floor, if there's any piece of advice that you guys would like to share with the world, say it now and let everybody know, like what knowledge you got to drop for them. Tony, you want to take it? Nick, whoever wants to go, man, just take it.
Yeah, I'll jump in.
Nick, grab it, man.
Also, quick side note though, I also have a twin sister.
Oh shit!
No joke.
Oh shit!
So that's pretty cool.
Like, yeah, dude, that's cool.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah.
I would say by far, the piece of advice that I would give is learning to receive feedback well.
Okay.
You know, I think most of my life growing up, I was really closed off to anybody that tried to speak like correction or give me feedback, because it always felt like they were trying to, like, they weren't for me, or they were trying to put me on blast, not recognizing that obviously that the people that cared the most about me were the ones that had the fortitude to speak into my life. And it wasn't until I was probably in my mid-20s that I had a friend come to me and just kind of like give me feedback. And it was the first time in my life I actually chose to do something with it and apply it and really look at myself objectively. And it changed everything, because the second I was able to receive that piece of advice, I could recognize, okay, even at first, if I was emotionally having a hard time with it or receiving it or hearing it, and I took the time to actually like process it and look at myself, most of the time I would recognize, yeah, that's something I need to work on or I need to move towards. And so for me, one of the biggest things that has helped me grow as a person, whether that's as a father, husband, leader, whatever, is being willing to be coachable, to be humble, to be flexible, to receive what people have to say. Because, you know, especially looking at people that have gone where I want to be, they've forerun the path. You know, I remember when I knew I was going to be a father for the first time. I'd never been a dad. I didn't know what that looked like. So I looked around at men who not only did their kids love and adore them, but they had an honor and respect for them. To have the fortitude to just go to those men and say, hey, can I take you out to coffee? I just want to know what you did. How did you walk that out? What did you do? How did you implement that? And just really be a sponge, like being willing to receive the experience and wisdom that someone carries so that I don't have to learn by trial and error. You know, I would say by far, if you can know that it's not an attack on your character or your identity, but really it's an opportunity to grow as a person, then it's all bets are off, because then it becomes about like, what can you implement in your life to grow as a person, to mature as a person. And I can say by far one of the biggest reasons or abilities I've been able to do that is because I've had a heart posture that's willing to receive the feedback and be coachable and flexible in the midst of that.
Man, I love it. I love it. Odd, you got anything to add to that? Is there any type of advice you'd like to share with anybody?
Nah, just what we said earlier. It's okay to not be okay. I'm a big advocate for mental health. I'm a big believer in speak your mind. A lot of people out there, there's just too much stigma behind mental health, and people think, oh, you like there's a big term in Australia where it's just have a spoonful of concrete. Like if you're upset about something or you don't think you can cope with something, then that's it. But it needs to change, and I'm always open. I've always got my ears are open. I was born with 2 ears and 1 mouth, so I'll listen twice as much as I talk. If you ask my wife, she'd say the complete opposite. But yeah, nah. I mean, my advice is yeah, be open. Talk to people you feel comfortable with, and believe it or not, if you open up to people, you might feel even more comfortable with them. And you can usually tell pretty soon when people are receptive. I mean, this is a great bunch of people here. I mean, I've spoken to pretty much all of you in just DMs and just regular chat, as well as at the same time on spaces and this podcast and stuff like that. And I'll continue to talk to you guys, and we'll continue to be open and listen and always be there for you. So it's one of those things where, yeah, my advice is it's okay to not be okay, and you've got 2 ears and 1 mouth, so just listen as much as you can.
Man, that's awesome. What about you, Dre?
I don't want to reiterate what I said before. Well, I guess I should. Be patient, and be kind to everyone that you can be. I was also going to say that like, don't be afraid to be yourself. Like, your feelings matter. Your feelings really do matter. If there are some people that don't value your feelings, that's fine. You know, they don't have to always be a prominent person in your life, but that doesn't mean your feelings is not validated. I feel like the number one thing in a lot of friendships, relationships, job settings, whatever the case may be, people try their best to not be themselves and hide their feelings and hide who they really are so they don't get hurt. Which is very understandable because no one wants to willingly get hurt. But like, try to surround yourself with people that really value your values and cores and your feelings. I used to go through a time where I was very open with my feelings. Like I was not that I was rude or anything. I was just like I was either sensitive or I was very emotional. And then I went through a time where that got hurt, and I just was like, I'm not doing that no more at all. Like no one's gonna know how I really feel. So I hardened up myself. But then what that did was I was just hurting everyone else around me. And that wasn't the right thing to do. So I had to learn that, of course, you have to have very good judgment, but also knowing that your feelings matter. And what Josh was saying was that you know, I forgot where you were saying that in Australia you said that a spoonful of what was it again?
Spoonful of concrete
Yeah, yeah. So it's one
and
of
harden up.
exactly like your feelings matter, and like with mental health is really important. As of like the past, I guess 4 or 5 years, I started realizing that mental health is a real thing. It's really important. It's really, really important. Like it's very important that you get a good night rest. It's very good that you sleep well. Your stress levels is down, and all that ties into like your feelings as well. So um you can express your feelings in a very respectful way as well. You don't have to come at someone. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah, man. What about you, Tony? You got anything to add to that? Is there a piece of advice that you'd like to go ahead and share with everybody?
Yeah, it's gonna be a little advice and story, if that makes sense, but it's
Okay.
not. It's and it's touching on like everyone who said, like Nick's point, Odd, Dre, like you all speaking truth. Like it's life is too short, man, and sometimes I would say this from my experience, and if I want to share something in terms of an advice to everybody is everybody experiences hardship, experiences obstacles, mountains, situations, things that sometimes you need help. Sometimes you need to understand, to unravel some of the situations. Sometimes you're so tangled in and so in depth into what's happening, like work life, like the world surrounding you, the noise from the news, the noise from, let's say, social media, Twitter, Facebook. Like we can even be fans. Like our team sucks. This thing, like I can say a lot of things, and the thing is, mental health is important. And what sucks is when you are okay in mind, but your partner is not, or when a friend that you want to be okay with is not okay with, and you're trying to be helpful, you're trying to be mindful. But here's the thing: sometimes I may sound a little bit scripture, I may sound a little bit like Bible-ish, but sometimes the enemy is everywhere, man. Like it can take many shapes, forms, and sizes. And here's the thing: like I want to fight the enemy, I want to take my fist, punch it, and just destroy it. But the thing is, that's not how life works. That's not how things do. So you have to fight your own way. You have to continue. Like you can't be closed off. You can't be like, there are friends here. Like it's like I feel like I know you guys now more than I would have ever imagined. Like there's a thing that's called communication, and it can, like, this is what Twitter's supposed to be. This is what Facebook is supposed to be. This is what social media is supposed to be. Is knowing people, like really knowing people, trying to converse with them, trying to have an open dialogue, trying to see like, where do you come from? Because right now I can be a keyboard warrior. I can be putting out a lot of stuff out there. That doesn't mean anything. Facts are facts, truth is truth. And honestly, for those who are struggling, for those who are affected, that feel like it's too much, take a breath and look around you. There's always support. There's like it can be here. Like you can DM us, you can tweet, you can say, like, if you need a space to just talk. This is not supposed to be a psych thing, but sometimes you need to vent. Sometimes you need an outlet. Sometimes you need help in many aspects in life. And there's resources out there. You know, I don't have the solutions. Nobody does. Like, nobody has all the solutions, but we're all human. We all make mistakes. We all have problems. We all have situations. So just understand, like, for those who say, like, I need money, but money doesn't solve anything, because there's more to life than any single thing. And I'm sorry if I'm putting a lot of stuff here, but it's just like it's there's no clear answer. And I think God Sneaker, Dre, and even Nick, like you guys kind of summed it up in this general term that if you need help, you need help. Mental health is one of the things that when you go to the hospital and you say I have mental health, they'll be like, I can't put a band-aid on that. Like, it's a real thing. It's a real thing. So I would say, for those who are listening, for those who are watching this, if you are, whatever the time zone, if this is 5 years old, 10 years old, 20 years old, whatever the case, you are not alone. So that's my 2 cents.
That's I really like.
That was that. Yeah, man. That's a
That
summarize
summed it
of
up.
everybody. That sums it up, man.
Beautiful.
Like, if there's anything that I could even say to anybody, and I know I'm not like I'm not like a perfect citizen or anything, model or whatever the case may be. If there's just one thing that I could say is just focus on your guys' self. Learn how to like learn how to love yourself to start. And then you can apply that to loving other people. Because when you truly understand what it is to love thyself, you will be able to truly understand how to love somebody else.
Yep.
So again, it's okay not to be okay. You are not alone. We are all everybody on this panel. We're all here to listen, to help, to guide one another, to make sure that we are all in this together, is what I could say. So, guys, Nick, Tony, Odd, Dre, again, I really, really appreciate you guys for coming on. This was a great show. Guys, if you guys do like this and what we're doing, just hit the subscribe button, like us, follow us on Twitter. I'll put all the links in the description. Everybody's Twitter will be in the description as well. Truly, truly an honor to bring you guys on. This was a great show. Better than what I expected, honestly. I really, really appreciate you guys for coming on,
This is
honestly.
my first time doing this, man.
It's all of our first times. No, yeah,
This
this is
was
fun.
good.
Thank you. It's an honor.
No, yeah, definitely. It was totally fun. Like, this is
What-
what I envisioned.
Yeah, and one last thing for those who are listening or watching, if you want to be here, like, this is not something. This is not like we planned this months in ahead. So if you want to tweet us, we'll probably put a Gmail thing here or something, or an email, so that you can DM us. And if you want to be here and you want to share your story, you want to, you like what you saw and you just want to share, please share this video, share this podcast, share.
Yeah, send us an email, send us a DM, and we'll get you
exactly.
on. Again, I want to hear everybody. I want to hear as much stories and try to inspire as many people as I can. Like, I'm not here for I'm not really here for the clicks or the likes. I really truly want to actually just help people as much as that I can, even if it's just one person. Like, if we get one subscriber, I'm happy at the end of the day. That's fine, bro. That's one person, man. So
if we can help one life, that's worth it.
That's the start in the right direction.
That's everything.
Yep. So again, I appreciate you guys for coming on. Guys, this is the Cafeteria Room. This is the place where you can be and be yourself. No judgment. Again, I'm your host, the Blunt One. I got my co-host here, Tony, at all times. Nick, Odd Sneaker, Dre. We'll probably have you back on again. I appreciate you guys so much. We really love you guys. Peace out, guys.
All right, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.